Okay, it says we're live. I said I'm live. Okay, here we are. All right, Tom, we are live right now. So we're going to kick off episode 3 of the Public Trust Review. And today, Kirk Vartan here with Dr. Tom Shanks. I'm just going to do a quick overview of some of the things we're going to cover today. The first thing is we want to announce, because there's so much going on, today is an off day, not a normal day. We're usually Thursdays. We're going to do every day at approximately 1:30. We'll announce that each day, but we're going to target 1:30 every day this week, including Thursday, which is our normal day. And there's a lot of stuff coming out. There's I just got my ballot in the mail today. I don't know about you, Tom, but I just got my ballot in the mail. So this is very, very timely. I'm going to jump us right in, Tom, to our presentation. So just bear with me while I get it started. Is there anything you want to go over while I'm getting this set up?
No, the major thing is that the grand jury released its report. That's what we want to talk about today, and why it matters.
All right, so I'm going to share this. Okay, I'm gonna read this brief. This is a summary, and again, you did a great job putting this together, Tom. As a brief summary, a number of articles. I think the San Francisco Chronicle was really the lead paper of record or a document of record for a lot of the stuff that's been going on. The Business Journal, Silicon Valley Business Journal, just released an article today as well, also very thorough. There are a couple others, maybe not quite, they're a little bit more biased, but those two were pretty on point. So Monday evening was at 5 o'clock. It was released, and depending on the sources, it was either scathing, political hit piece, deeply concerning, October surprise. But I think it's really important to know that this is the Santa Clara County Civil Grand Jury, not a paid lobbyist or something like that. I just a personal opinion, just as an observation. Politics as usual, which I hope we don't fall into the trap of. What we do, you do at your own peril, especially at the city. If you don't take note of this, you're doing so with open eyes. And now it's really up to us to see next steps. And so with that, I'm going to key off. Why don't you tell us about that little cartoon is there in the corner?
Yeah, we often think that if you go into politics, you leave your ethics at the door. And that sometimes feels like that. But today what we're saying is no one can leave their ethics at the door. Because when you do, we all fail, we all hurt.
And so this particular quote, I'm going to read it briefly, but again, this is in the document on page 5. The civil grand jury's investigation confirms that the actions and inaction of certain council members are not consistent with the duties owed to the constituents they were elected to serve, causing severe dysfunction in city governance. How would you like to comment on that, Tom?
I'd say just go to the next one. These are the conclusions that they offer at the beginning of the document, and
Gotcha.
Then at the end they come back to it.
Okay, so the second quote in here, also on page 5, the civil grand jury found through the course of its investigation that these 5 members, Becker, Chahal, Hardy, Jain, and Park, can and do vote in a manner that is favorable to the 49ers. Wow.
Yep.
Yikes.
Go to the next one.
Do you want to comment on that?
Nope.
I mean, that's nope. Pretty.
So
that's pretty telling right now.
Yeah.
In my eyes. Okay, next slide here.
Okay, so what they're saying is that those members, they believe, are not fulfilling their ethical duties, and you can wonder, are they also fulfilling their legal duties? But as we talked about last week, the law is the floor and it's not the ceiling. The ceiling are these 4, and these are the duties that council members in every city have. And we want to talk about them: the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, the duty of impartiality, and the duty of accountability. All of our laws pretty much rest on these principles, which are fundamental ethical principles for public servants and for people we elect. If you go to the next slide, the duty of care, right? Now, what care means is that you've done your due diligence, that you care about the people that you're representing, And CARE turns itself into, or looks like, being a good steward of financial matters, doing due diligence. And what we see in this document is, and I would also say, if you read the document and you, whatever you think of it against the facts that are presented. And when you're reading or listening to people responding to it who are saying it's a political hit piece, or it's an October surprise, it's all about politics, ask yourself, what are the facts? What are the facts? I think that's the bottom line here. And what we see, and what many people have seen, what they talk about in this document, is under due diligence. So when the council decided that it wasn't going to gather any more information from independent sources, that could be a question of, were they doing their due diligence? The FIFA contract you've heard about, and which they're excited to have come, the city manager, the previous city manager, talked a lot about the financial downside. And one of the things that's in this report is that 2 cities, Chicago and Quebec, didn't vote or didn't offer to host the FIFA people in 2 years because, or I guess in 2026, because the costs to the city have risen 2 or 3 times to being $80 million in cost. And whether that you think that's correct or not, the question is, what's the due diligence? What's the information, and who's giving the information about what the potential downside is, as well as potential upside?
No, and just to put that in perspective, due diligence doesn't mean there's something wrong with that. Like the FIFA contract, there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to sign with that league and have them come in 2026. I think everybody's excited about that. I mean, the mayor and others have been excited about that for years, way prior to this year. But the issue around due diligence is doing the work to find out what are all of the costs, who's paying what about public safety, what about
housing
outside of the, like I said, the hotel or the restaurants or events. Who covers that? Is it the city's responsibility or the host team's responsibility? Is it the stadium authority? Like, who's responsible for that? Is it going to come out of the general fund? Like, those questions, I don't believe were thoroughly vetted. And I think that was one of the concerns that you're getting at from a due diligence perspective.
That's right. That's right.
And I know there council members were asking, I think even the mayor asked, to hold on, like, let's see the contracts, like, what was actually shared before you start voting on whether we want you to bring them into the city.
Right. So that's under due diligence. Being good financial stewards is another area that gets raised. And one of the things that we know is that the costs for the city attorney or the acting city attorney now are very high. And they seem to be, as far as we can tell, they seem to be greater than the cost that the regular city attorney was costing the city.
And that's just, you're talking about just numbers. We're not even talking about effectiveness or decision-making or, how they engage. We're talking about just purely from a financial perspective. What's the plan? How are you going to control the costs of those things, et cetera?
And this last bullet point, I have to say, and I think I don't know if we're being seen right now, if it's just the slide.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah.
But I think you can probably go back to us. But that's okay. Go to the next slide just for a second. Okay. That we're going to talk about loyalty in our next session here.
Yes.
But what I want to say though about the costs of the city manager and the acting city manager, we don't know what the actual costs are. Everybody knows what the amount of salary that was being paid to the previous city manager. And that's all public record. I went looking to see if I could find I'll take response.
I'll take responsibilities personally for adding that bottom bullet. Like that
Yep.
was after you had forwarded me some
Yes.
data. And the reason I put that in there is because the council meetings that I've attended and the data that I've seen has said that the acting city manager, which is only a temporary position, I think it's only allowed to be, because he's part-time, a 6-month duration maximum or something to that effect, that salary is same or more than the salary that the Deanna Santana was making, not counting all the other perks and stuff like that. I'm just talking about base salary was like $350,000 or something like that, whatever the equivalent salary was. My understanding was, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy to, I will take, like I said, personal responsibility on that. My understanding is the current acting city manager is, from a salary perspective, at the same burn rate that a former city manager Santana was at. And again, that is not on Tom, that is on me. And if that is incorrect, I will take full responsibility for that. But that's my understanding in that. And I don't want to get too much into some of those other pieces, like just going back up to the care, loyalty, impartiality, and accountability, because we want to try and frame this, just focus on one thing at a time. So they're in digestible pieces. And there is a city council meeting tonight on Tuesday. I don't know what is going to be covered there, but I just wanted to ask you, Tom, because we're getting towards the end of our little segment here. We want to keep these segments to less than 15 minutes, or 15 minutes or less. We're about 10 or 11 minutes. And what I wanted to ask you is, given what has been presented publicly by the grand jury report, what they've identified, and what all major newspapers are reporting, the Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle is now reporting, the Business Journal, the San Jose Spotlight, and even the local Santa Clara Weekly, Silicon Valley Voice periodical, as well as Santa Clara News Online. Those publications have all, I think even San Jose Inside did a piece. Everybody is covering this and has raised all these things. And to my knowledge, the San Francisco 49ers have said this is a political hit piece and hatchet job and stuff like that, which I think is, that's their right to say whatever they want. But the best of my knowledge, no facts have been repudiated or countered or challenged. It's I think that's untrue, but without any facts. Is that accurate, or how would you? What would your?
Right. And I would invite everybody to look at those materials and what the newspapers and so forth are saying. No facts yet have come out to challenge the facts that are in the grand jury report. Even one of the things that came up was that the 49ers are claiming that the mayor, had all these people who were her friends on the grand jury. And in the final version of the document, at the very beginning, the grand jury explains that only 2 of the people who were grand jurors recused themselves because they had some kind of conflict of interest. But the grand jury takes that stuff really seriously. So people don't stay on the grand jury for these reports if they are anything other than impartial.
So again,
all that we've heard has been, attacks and no facts. So it's okay.
I like that.
Facts rather than
no facts.
Right.
We're trademark Tom Shanks. Attack and no facts. That's a good one, Tom.
Yeah.
So, we usually try and do like a grading. Like the last couple episodes, we did a grading of either a commercial that was aired by an independent expenditure group or a comment made by Councilmember Chahal last meeting. Who would you like to? Who would you like to grade this week, and what grade would you give them?
Well, I think what comes out of the document, the grand jury report, is a pretty. It's not a C. It's certainly not an A or a B for the voting block, what they call the voting block.
So let's two parts. Maybe this is two ratings. One, let's talk about maybe the grand jury report itself. What grade would you give that report as, the grand jury and that report? What kind of grade would you give it based on the fact that you read that?
Yeah, the grand jury report is a very good document. It's based on very solid research. And it's written, it's amazing how they put together so many different facts, right? Which means that they really did understand what they were doing.
You are acting politically by not answering the question.
No, I'm going to say I would give it an A.
You give it an A. Okay. You have an A. You have a whiteboard. You can scrawl your thing. No. Okay.
No,
Caught you off guard. Okay.
I know
that's fine.
Off guard. No,
okay. All right.
That's right.
So
I would say it's an A.
So you
and then in terms of the council.
Yeah, what would you give the council based on this at this point? The voting, they're calling it the voting block, the majority voting block in Santa Clara, city of Santa Clara.
I really would give that voting block a D.
A D.
But because the only reason I wouldn't give them an F right now is because they will advance reasons that seem plausible for why they've done these various things. Right. So, they got rid of the city manager because she was not doing her job, or the city attorney because they were not doing their job. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but it could also be true that they were asked to do that by the 49ers. That's possible.
Yeah, well, the 49ers, absolutely. I mean, Councilmember Jain said that they wanted the Brian Doyle gone. I mean, he said that publicly in council. Like he's admitted that, like they wanted him gone.
So I think the bottom line here for all of us is the behavior that they're engaged in, no matter how they explain it, that behavior is not normal for council people. It's abnormal, and it is bordering on not just being unethical, but being corrupt. I'm not saying that, of course, is a decision that has to be made in court, and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But with ethics, this is not ethical the way that we expect it to be.
Okay, so just to summarize, we're 2 minutes over. I'm going to summarize. Grand jury report is an A. Do we have here? I'll do a. This is
good.
The grand jury report A. Okay, and you said the council themselves.
Yeah, the majority.
Was it D?
Right.
D. So council and grand jury report. Next time we will have better props. Okay, so tomorrow, just for anybody that's paying attention, tomorrow we will be online here. We're gonna say, I think we said 1:30 tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Okay.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks.
Have an ethical day.
We will back to ethical day.